Welcome to another tech video. Today we're going to be having a look at a Dell G5. So this is a gaming laptop that is experiencing some, not necessarily overheating problems, but certainly some serious fan noise problems whenever it goes under any load. So we're going to be having a look at that today, seeing if we can get that fixed. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this back panel, and we're using a Phillips screwdriver and a couple of prizer tools. So you want to release all the screws all the way around, take them all out, make a note of where they all live. So what we tend to do is to keep them in line so we know which slots they came out from. And then you'll notice that these two back screws here are designed to just lift the cover up so you can get your prizer tool in and start unclipping all the way around. Another really useful design feature those are. Just run it all the way around, and then you should just be able to lift it off, but if you don't, just release the last screw and that's it. And that comes away, and then we can see they've got the two fans here. So these are what we're going to be changing today. We're going to change the two fans, and we're going to have a look under here and make sure that the thermal paste is okay. We're probably going to replace that as well. So the first thing that we want to do is to disconnect the battery, and this should just lift up, unclip either side, and that's the battery released. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the fan assembly on both sides. So we've got one cable in here and the other cable under the fan there. Let's bring this down a little bit. We can see what we're doing. So we're just going to gently try and remove this. Probably going to use the metal spreader for that, just to get into the sides. And then the same for this side as well. Gently prise that out. There we go, that's that one. I'm just going to lift up this cable, there we go. So that's the two fans unplugged, and now we can release them. There's always one that's a difficult one to get out, so let's try a smaller screwdriver in there. And then gently lift up the fan. They don't look too bad. Now the customer was complaining that it was really noisy, so we're just also going to clear all the dust out from the exhaust vents. Let's see if we can get this screw out. Okay, so we managed to get the other screw out finally. It's a bit of a job to get out, but that is now released. There's a bit of fluff under there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the heat sinks, and it's all one unit, so we're going to have to be pretty careful on how we go about doing that, but we want to remove all the screws. So as you can see here, we've got 7 screws, and we're going to remove them or release them. It shows you how to screw them down. We're not worried about how we release them, but it does matter how we tighten them down, because we want to get a fairly even spread. Okay, so that seems to be released. go. And the plan of action is we're going to leave all the thermal pads everywhere else. You can see we've got a broken thermal pad down here, but that's not a problem. We're going to clean these off. Okay, and the way we're going to clean them off is we've got some isopropyl alcohol, and we're going to simply take a piece of kitchen cloth, get some of that alcohol on there, and we're just going to clean this thermal paste off. Just doing it very gently around there like that. And then we're going to do the same on here. Get all the thermal paste off. Quite excessive amount of paste on there. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so that's the chips cleaned up, nice and shiny as you can see again. So we're going to take that to one side, and now we're going to concentrate on this unit here. We're going to get both of these nice and clean as well. So we're going to take the same bit of cloth. I'm just going to rub all of the thermal paste off there, like that, making sure that we don't touch any of these thermal pads. And the reason for that is we don't want to damage them. They need to be doing their job efficiently. Okay. You do want to use this isopropyl alcohol in a ventilated area. Make sure you don't breathe it in too much, because it is quite potent. Okay, once you've got your plates cleaned, you want to get rid of all the cloths. Okay, so now what we can do is we can examine this and make sure that all the vents are clean and clear, which they seem to be not too bad. A little bit of dust in that one. Give them a good blowout, make sure they're all clean. I'm going to bring our laptop back. Okay, and we're going to add some thermal paste now. So we want a little small pea-sized lump on the CPU. That should be sufficient. And then a slightly larger lump on the GPU. And just a little tiny bit more on the GPU. With a slightly different thermal paste. Okay, now we're going to take our heatsink, and that's going to go back into place. Making sure you got it around the right way, of course. There we go. And again, in turn, what we're going to do is we're going to do these screws all in turn. 2. And then once they're all biting and tight, just go round, do the final tweak until they're at the end of their stops. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's the heatsink put back on. Now we're going to take our replacement fans. Okay, so this one looks like it's the right hand one, which it is. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to reinsert the power cable for it, like that. Get that seated into position. And then we're going to take our other side and we're going to do the same. We're going to try and get this connected in. Like that. And then we're going to reattach our fan screws. Okay, so before we actually put everything back together, what we want to do is we now want to test and make sure that all the fans spin. So we're going to reattach our battery down here. So it's just a clip over the top. If I can get it in the right place, there we go. So that's our battery now reattached. So we're just going to open it up a little bit and see if we can get it to power on. Okay, there's the power button. Couldn't find it. Right. Okay, so we've got started up. Okay, that's better. So now we started stress testing the CPU. So what we're just using an online CPU stress tester. We're running 4 threads at 25% power. And that seems to be spinning the fans nicely. So now we're going to stop it. And I'm going to up the power to 75%. Start the CPU stress test. And then while that test is running, we're going to have a look at the back of the unit here. We've got our fans running. It's certainly much quieter than the roar that it was being cooled on earlier. So that was the problem with this machine. So they were saying that when it was under any load at all, the fans would be running really, really loud. So by what we've done here today, by redoing the thermal paste and changing the fans, that should last them now. So that's all there is to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to now shut the machine down. So let's close off that. Shut the machine down. And you can see straight away, as soon as the load stops, the fans go back to normal. So they're still running because there's still a bit of heat in the system after that stress test. And there we go. So now we'll get the cover back on. So it's just the reverse procedure really. You take the cover, as long as it goes on the right way, which was this way, clip it back into place. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that it's seated all the way around the edges, and then do these 2 screws up here, which then bring the back panel back down, like that. And get the screws back in. There we go. That's it. So the next thing, all we do now is we just take an antibacterial wipe and we give the machine a good clean. Take our soft polishing cloth, give it a final wipe over. There we go. And then one final check before that goes back to our clients. This will give it another power up, just to make sure that it's still working, of which it is. Okay, and we can just do a shutdown now. So that's it for that video. That's how we go about changing the fans inside a Dell G5 laptop, and also changing the thermal paste to make sure that the heat dissipation is as it should be. So if you found that video useful, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just want to say thanks for watching, and believe it or not, we'll see you in the next one.